We're live on Facebook. So welcome everybody to Beyond the Cloud for Friday, July the 9th. We have a very special guest who jumped on, who we haven't seen in a long time, Brad Celmanis from Friday Night Live.
Hey everyone.
So yay. So awesome to have you here. And of course, Brad, anytime we love to have you here.
Well, you said I'm a guest. I used to be a regular, right?
Exactly. Well, now you're a guest. We'll get you back to regular
Okay,
status.
That works. Special guest.
When you stop showing up.
There you go.
Oh, yes.
Good to see everyone.
Yeah. So what we'll do is with our question of the day, we'll go right and introduce ourselves. And then, in light of the fact that Brad's here and he and Andrew will have their own, they've taken over Friday Night Live. For those of you who haven't been around the last 8 months or so, I think it was around the beginning of the year or sometime last year that you guys took it over. But we'll go around and just say if you've ever seen their FNL. So I am trying to. I hope so. So I'm Tanya Hills from Cloud Business Services and Tanya's Bookkeepers Bootcamp. And yes, I have. I am mostly watching it on the replays the next day because apparently I try to go to bed when Lawrence is just cooking dinner, but they're 12 hours in bed and I get 6 hours of sleep. So I really try to be good. I'm trying to focus on my health and whatnot this year. So, yes, and I've also been a guest on FNL.
Well, that's a bit of trivia actually, because it's been just over a year since I jumped on. I came on as a guest host.
Yeah.
And you were our guest.
Technically the first one, exactly.
Yeah.
When it wasn't technically yours, but yeah.
Yeah. But I was kind of renting it at that point, and that was the first episode that kind of started the trend, I guess. And then eventually Michael and Hector said, guys, we're just a little busy. They didn't really come out and say it's time for Brad to step in, but we just kind of took it over.
It just happened.
Had a coup, and we just said, hey guys, too bad, squatters' rights here. And Andrew really enjoyed what he was doing with Michael and Hector, and they're great guys to hang out with. And he just wanted to keep going with it. So we just pretty much did what we used to do at conferences, just sit there and talk to people. And I'll never forget the first time I did that. It was in San Jose. It was the year that Brad Smith, it was his final year as CEO, and Suzanne Godarzi, the current CEO, was incoming. It was like the big victory tour. You must remember that, Tanya.
Yep.
Brad was everywhere, and so was Suzanne. And so we were sitting there in the front row, like we'd always sneak in there and get those leather couches. And Andrew just shoved a mic in my face once and says, here. And I'm like, what? He said, just follow my lead. And I was back then, I didn't like being on camera. I used to avoid video, things like that. So it was just we started from there. And, of course, we've been to England together. We've been to a lot of conferences doing it. We're quite comfortable doing it. Andrew is confirmed for Scaling New Heights. He's actually going down with Licio. He's going to be presenting on their behalf. He's got a presentation, but he's also, he's going to be wearing the Licio t-shirt. And I might be there as well with some potential sponsorship. It's kind of complicated right now, but I'm pushing for that. So we're hoping to be in Texas together, and we're going to do our thing, and we'll probably be semi-sponsored. So that'll be kind of cool. And while I'm on the subject, in May of 2022, there's a new conference in the works.
I heard of it. Yes.
In Southern California, in San Diego. Is that the one?
I don't know any details. I just know details were coming.
Okay, San Diego it is. And they're just trying to finalize. And San Diego, if people don't know, is an amazing place. Like it's so close to LA, but it's not the in-your-face, smoggy, crowded area that is Southern California. It is laid back. It's a beautiful place. So it sounds like something might be happening. It's not your typical conference. The organizers behind it haven't really done anything like this, but they just want to. I think they want to take advantage of the fact that we haven't been around people for a long time, and they're not ready to jump in yet. right? A lot of people aren't ready to jump in. I know we talked offline that people aren't ready to do scaling yet. And I don't blame people for having their reasons for that. But in May of 2022, the theory is more and more people will be vaccinated, will be closer to herd immunity. People will be more comfortable coming out. So that's what we've heard about that. We're told to keep it on our calendar. I don't have dates. It just said May.
Well, and it's interesting because and we will get back to everybody in a moment too, but I will be assisting. If the plan goes as is, I'll be assisting with something that Liz Scott is actually doing down at Scaling New Heights, but I won't be able to be there. It's too close to me with me being high risk, and then I've got some surgeries
it's
to push
Texas.
that. But so that's what I said to her. I said, Liz, I said, I'm happy to help in any way that I can to get that in there. And it's around, reviewing clean data, auto review, because I seem to be the one who knows the product better than everybody at this stage.
Well, you're introducing everyone to that product too.
Exactly.
That's how I found out about it. You're the champion.
Well, in full disclosure, I have actually gone into a bit of a sponsorship agreement with them, so that people will see. I will be doing a blog and a webinar every month for them, and yes, that is paid. However, it is 100% content controlled by myself. I get final approval, like they said, because I said I can only go into anything if it's authentic. I want people to know it's authentic. I still believe in it, and that's all there is to it. And I completely believe.
Well, there's value in your brand, and if they're going to pay you should have some control. Otherwise, they're just going to tell you what to say, and that's no fun.
And I wouldn't do that, because I said to them, that's why I've only accepted a blog, a webinar, things here and there that I have control on, but I've never been willing to go into a long-term agreement. So right now it's a 6-month agreement, so we'll see how it goes. But again,
congratulations. It's nice to monetize, your ideas and your brain a bit.
Well, and I've got some really exciting ideas to be able to do. So they're kind of throwing out some topics, that they're like, hey, can you try and do something around here? But again, the voice has to be 100% mine, authentic. And that was really, really important. So we were in negotiations for a couple of months just to make sure, like, what did they want from me? Was I willing to get into that? So yeah, just again, when people see that, yes.
Well, at least you're disclosing it. That's important. If people are a sponsored spokesperson for any app, they should always disclose that, because there's a real problem in pockets of our industry where there are people out there, so-called influencers, that are out there talking up product, and they're making money on the side. That's not right. Like I used to say, I work for swag, right? So if I'm wearing a t-shirt, that's all I got out of the deal was a t-shirt, maybe a water bottle and a coffee mug, right? That's different.
It's very
I'm the
different.
opposite now. I don't want swag. One thing I learned about my weight loss journey is I have way too much swag and none of it fits, right? It's all, and you can't donate it because no one wants sponsored t-shirts, and you can't really, it's kind of disrespectful to use them as rags to clean your car. I guess some people don't need to know that, but I literally just have this pile and I don't know what to do with it. So I've decided moving forward, I'm going to take, I've decided I'm going to take way less swag moving forward. And I'm only going to get my hands on swag for apps that I believe in. And even, some potentially say, hey, you want me to wear your stuff? Let's talk about some financial compensation. And I have an arrangement with Fun Through this like that. I don't know if you guys know Fun Through.
I love Fun Through. I met them about 5 years ago.
They're good people there. They're everyone from top to bottom is first rate. And I believe in the product. So I actually did an audition for them without even realizing I was doing it. It was a QBC Toronto a few years back. I had to go into the green room for something. Had to go meet somebody, and Amanda from Fun Through was in there. I didn't know who she was, and she was talking to a big shot at Intuit on the dev side, Alex Barnett, and they were having a conversation. And I thought he was a customer, and I didn't really know who she was. I thought she was just a sales rep, and I talked up Fun Through, and then Alex looked at Amanda and goes, "Who was that?" And I didn't even realize, what was going on. And then when I went to England, Alex is from Silicon Valley, but he's British, and he
Yeah.
was there, and he said, "Do you remember that time?" And I was like, "That was you." So they never forgot that. And then they reached out and said, would you like to do this and you'd like to do that? And I said, well, I'd like to, but not for free.
Yeah.
Came right out and said it. And it's not like it's this massive amount, but did I just lose? I think I just lost my audio.
No, we can hear you.
Yeah, it's one ear still going. I'll just take my time to fiddle a bit. But I basically just said, look, I have, and they said, what do you want? I said, well, here's my consulting rate that I charge the outside world for my time. They said, we'll pay that. I said, okay, fine, let's do that. And they've actually gone even beyond that to say, hey, will you do this? This is how much we'd like to pay you. And you say, yeah, that works. So it's not a lot of money, but it's at least consideration of the time you're putting in, and it reflects the fact that you have value. And I say that to anyone out there. I know, Jessica, you're listening to us. You've got so much knowledge on some of those apps out there, and you're just great PR for these apps. Is it 17 Hats that Jessica's really big on?
Yep.
Yeah, I got a lot of referral from 17 Hats. They sent me a lot of Amazon gift cards.
Well, there you go. But you know what? That was where a conversation started with an app in Canada. They reached out and had this laundry list of things that they say, hey, can you look at this and look at that and check out our landing page and blah, blah, blah. And they said, they put a big list together, and then they said, and we'll send you, a $25 gift card. I just laughed. I said, no. $25 gift card, like, do you know how much I charge an hour? It's not that much, but $25 barely makes up a few minutes, and you just gave me a list of. So I put an agreement in front of them, and we haven't really gone with it yet, but they're if they want me to speak on their behalf, they have an agreement in place. So really consider that, Jessica, because you are such a whiz, and try and monetize it. And, it's actually kind of fun to do these things with them, because you get some good exposure. You get to shoot some video or whatever, some content. I've worked with professional videographers and all that stuff. And it's actually kind of fun to do. And the finished product is something that you can utilize left and right. So,
yeah.
Food for thought. Anyone out there that is out there giving it away for gift cards, they'll pay dollars if you ask.
Yeah. And see, with me, again, it kind of depends on what it is. Like on a review, I love the product. There is absolutely no doubt about it. I love the team. I've been working with them for over a year. Actually, sorry, I think we hit a year this month that I've been working with them, kind of behind the scenes and getting them ready. Like that was all pre-launch that I've been working with them. And, it's just been really, really good. So I was happy to do a lot of that. Yes. Again, I will be completely open and honest. I'm still not paying for my subscription, so I've been getting something for it.
That's nothing. Like, frankly, none of us that are speaking, even a lot of professional accountants and bookkeepers, we shouldn't really be paying much.
Oh no,
anyways.
not mine. And for any of my clients.
Oh
no,
that's an even
I
sweeter deal.
haven't paid attention yet. Again. But that's,
I'm going to Dex and I'm going to say, I want everything for free.
Well, my bill with them would be higher than my bill to Dex is if I had to pay right now. I'm free till the end of the year because of all the assistance I've given with them. And I know a few other people. So I'm like, that's really good. And again, that's the time I've been putting in to help them develop it. But then, and I've done, some webinars and stuff because I believe in them. But then when they wanted to come into, again, a formal and have me, okay, once a month, I'm like, okay, we need to do something formal again, but I need to still be authentic 100%. Otherwise, it's not happening. And that's all there is to it. I will not say something that I don't 100% believe in and that is not true. Because that people know me, that whether it's the good, the bad, or the ugly, I will say it. And that's what I'm known as. And that's really important to me. So
what Fun Through said to me was, because, I had to enter into an agreement and it had, the fine print. It basically said, we control the message. And I was like, well, no, but it was fair because it was very open-ended, but they're saying we reserve editorial right. And I knew they weren't going to do much with it, which basically meant I was going to sit in a room for several hours from all these different angles. They were going to ask me tons of questions, and they were going to do what they want with the finished product, and they were going to edit it any way they wanted. And that was fine, because each little tidbit that you were giving anyways was still your opinion, your comment, your advice, and they decided how they were going to piece it together. So at the end of the day, it was still your message. It might not come out the way you intended because of editing, but it still makes sense when you see it. And the funny thing about Fun Through was they never told me it was live, and had all these people from other walks of life that have no idea what I do for a living saying, I saw you on the internet the other day. And I was like, what? Like, I had no idea. And I said, what are you talking about? Oh, you were talking about and everyone got the name wrong. Some computer thing. And I was like, Fun Through? They said, it might be it.
That's hilarious.
I was a pop-up ad. People were probably, going to kill it. Go, wait a minute. I recognize that guy.
Oh, that's funny. Well, see, and I guess it's different with my blogs. I still sent it off to them so they could look. But again, at the end of the day, it's my word. So I just said,
something like that makes sense. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you've got that message and you've put the work into it, and it has a flow from start to finish.
Well, and everything that I'm talking about, it's what I've experienced with using them. It's how I use it. Yeah. So it's very, very personal, right? Exactly.
Well, I was literally recording an advertisement. That's what, they said, this is an ad. And I said, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. But let's go around, let everybody else introduce themselves and say, so the question for Jonathan and Bianca, who's just joined us, is, have you ever seen an episode of the FNL, the Friday Night Live with, the new one with Brad and Andrew, which has been for about a year. So Carol, you are next in I'm going clockwise. So you're next.
I'm Carol Kosterchuk of Carol On Call Business Services here in very sunny Maple Ridge, BC.
Nice place.
It's very nice. I'm leaving next week to go to Calgary.
Nicer place.
I have logged on a few times, but of course with the time frame difference.
It's super early for you. Yeah, it's quarter to 7.
Still working or meeting. It's like, so.
Well, I have to rush dinner here.
It was recorded and I could see it the next day. So now that I know that.
There you go. Yeah. You just can't heckle us though. That's the only downside, right? So. You can heckle us, and I do try and keep an eye on the comments. And sometimes, we do our best to answer if there's a good question in there, or someone, wants to say something, we'll bring them in. That's the only downside to it. But people still treat it as if it is live the next day. So we're getting all these messages and replies. It's like, oh, what are they talking about? You have to kind of figure out what it relates to. But yeah, I guess you can still talk to us as if it were live the next day, because there's a good chance Andrew or I will try and.
It starts at 8 p.m. your time, or Becky's time, right?
Yes. So we log in 15 minutes early just to make sure that all the bugs are out, and then we go live it's at 10 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Mountain, so 7 p.m. Pacific.
7 p.m. Okay.
Yeah. So you can't say it's too late. It's actually it's too early for some people. I thought
it started at 8.
It used to. Your time, it used to.
It was even later than that. They were 11:30 Eastern at one point. Then they went back to 11, and it was Hector and Michael did the 11 o'clock start, and Andrew until they stopped doing it. And Andrew and I kind of said, let's go earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was by popular demand. The only thing we can't do is we've only had 2 people from the UK, because it's 4 a.m. when we bring in our UK guests. Ash Beatson, the founder of Net Tracker. he just didn't go to bed. He stayed up all night, and it was 4 a.m. and it kind of showed. But he was a great guest, but he looked very tired. And we had Will pop in once, but I want to get more people from the UK, and they just laugh at me when I suggest it. So
I wonder if you even just record it earlier and put it out as a replay.
We've thought of that, but I think there's magic in the live thing, because where a lot of the other day, I'm in Richard Ropa's roundtable, and he was talking us up a bit the other day, and he's been a guest, and he said the best part about FNL live is that we hang out after.
Yes,
We
I
invite
agree.
everyone to hang out with the guests. And we have some regulars that pop in that are always there. We get Donna Reed and Donna Crawley are usually there. And it's just a good way to get to know your guest, but also just chill out and have a conversation. And we, Andrew would keep the recording on. I say, turn that off. That way we can actually have conversations that we know are,
Right.
privileged and private. And geez, we've had people in there that tell us stuff. We're like, what? Like, where did you hear that? That's amazing. So that you get some good gossip now and again.
Yeah, I believe it.
And
Just like old
I actually,
times.
yeah, I actually gave some gossip out. I think it was 2 weeks ago. And like I said, if you weren't there, it's too bad because I'm actually going to be following that gossip up fairly soon. And all those people were sworn to secrecy. So you got to hang out with us to find out these things.
All right. Okay. Bianca, you're up next.
Hello, everybody. Bianca.
Hi, Bianca.
Mueller. Hi, guys. Thanks. I haven't been here in a while, and I'm working on an article right now that has a really harsh deadline for Canadian accountants. So I shouldn't be here, but I am because I couldn't just watch on Facebook. But yes, here I am. I haven't seen or listened or watched or participated in your guys' new show, Brad, but I did get a little taste of it.
Yes, you have. When your mom was on, when Dad was on, you were there that night. I'm positive you were, weren't you?
So when did it switch to just your new show? Because I used to always watch, chime in on the old shows.
Diane's only been a guest once, and that was my call. So I do all, just so people know, I do all the booking.
Okay.
When I first started, and Tanya, you'll remember this because this is how you were a guest. Andrew's like, hey, you want to come on? You want to do FNL? I was like, yeah, okay. And then I'd reach out to him on Friday morning and say, so who's our guest? He'd go, I don't know. Who should we get on? I'd be like, what?
So Brad sent me a text. He's like, hey, you free tonight? Sure.
Yeah, pretty much. And
I was like Carol though, but the time frame always threw me off. Like I have young kids, so that time of day
it's
like
tough with dinner. You're getting kids to bed and things like that. But yeah, Andrew, basically, I just said, look, Andrew, here's the deal. I'm taking care of booking. So since then, I have every single guest that's been on has been my doing. I've tracked them down from, well, that's not true. Andrew actually got Jade Simmons. He'd reached out to her for something else. Yeah.
So, with your relationship with Jade and Andrew.
I know.
Really?
But see, in Toronto, when all that went down, everyone knew that I was this big Jade Simmons fan. Everyone knew that she was reaching. A lot of people knew that her and I had this Twitter relationship. Mm-hmm. But, I was super stoked to see her. I'd been talking her up and she knew that. And then, so Andrew was out doing whatever Andrew does. I was with Anna Ambrosetti talking about mid-market software. So I was super busy with her. We had this great conversation going on, and we could hear Jade practicing, ready to go live on her show in Toronto. And so I went and sat down with Andrew to get going, and he says, guess what? He shows me a selfie he did with Jade. And I'm like, what? And he laughed. He said, I totally said, this is for Brad. I totally want to rub it in his face that you and I are here. And she laughed, and it was a really nice picture. And I was like, you asshole, why didn't you come get me? Say, Jade, I've got Jade. She was just walking the halls at that point. Wow. And so anyways, he had no idea I was coming up. Nobody knew I was coming up except for Jade. In fact, they approached Rachel Clark and said, we're going to mix things up a bit. And Rachel's like, you're what? Rachel is such a perfectionist, and it shows. I mean, she does an amazing job on QuickBooks Connect Virtual, all those little gift boxes that you get for signing up. That's Rachel's doing. Yeah,
Rachel's awesome.
She is amazing. I love Rachel. If you're watching, Rachel, I love you. But so anyway, she got wind that Jade wanted to mix it up. And Scott Zambergen told me, he said it was like this huge scandal breaking because this was going down. And Jade's like, relax. I know what I'm doing. I'm a pro. And they're like, biting their nails, going, what the hell is she up to? And that's what happened. She said, trust me, this is going to work, because that's kind of her brand. She's done this before, but not in this context, not at an accounting conference, not, I got to know Jade in San Jose when she was on stage there, and all it was through Twitter saying, wow, she's amazing. And then I was talking her up because she's one of those few guests that actually was in both cities. And what a lot of people don't realize is Jade was actually booked for Toronto before San Jose. And San Jose caught wind that Rachel had booked Jade for Toronto and said, tell us more. We're looking for some more talent. Tell us about this Jade Simmons character. Jade and Rachel's like, well, first of all, she rocks, and go for it. You know, she's got time available. They checked with her, and so she did both conferences. And we all know how amazing she is. She's just a truly remarkable person. It's hard to put a finger on it. She's the full package. And of course, Tanya, you recorded all that.
Yes.
Still my favorite footage out there, outside of the hidden footage that Intuit's got somewhere.
Well, how could I not record that with you up there? And thank goodness I was close enough to be able to get it, right?
I've got lots of funny footage too, because when Jade started going, you know, hinting what was going on, you know, she had Tanis go up there first. And I was really happy for Tanis, but I was thinking, I had this vibe that something was going on. And when she said, and there's someone else out there that thinks they're getting off easy, and Tanis thought it was Jason Hasty. I started to turn around and go, Jason? And look at him. And Andrew says, he starts laughing, goes, she's talking about you, I think. And I went, oh my God. I was just like, you know, the blood drained out of my head and I was going to faint. I was hungover. I felt like throwing up, and I felt like running out of there because, like I said, I'm totally stage fright. And of course, the rest is history. But what a lot of people don't realize, and I credit Jade with this, is that it was actually that started me on my little Noom weight loss journey, because I watched that video, Tanya, so many times, and I just went, holy crap, I didn't know I was so big. And that's really, it planted a seed in my head. And then when the pandemic started, I said, I got to do something. So it really was that conference that sort of motivated me to just do something different with my life. As you know, Tanya had a lot of other backstories going on. It was kind of a dramatic time in the community. I won't get into that. It's not fair, but it really was an interesting time. And I wasn't even going to Toronto. Long story short, Andrew insisted I come to Toronto, full credit. He had a spare ticket, said, you're coming. George Wall said, we're putting him up. They have this little apartment as part in their firm, in their accounting firm, this little apartment. It doesn't get used very often. People go there for naps, I guess, fold out bed. And so they put me up, and Andrew found me a cheap airfare and said, you're getting over here. So, you know, kudos to Andrew, because I wasn't going to come to Toronto. I'd sort of said, screw it, I don't want to be there. And he got me there. And of course, the way it played out was wonderful. And it just, I mean, I rode that wave for the longest time. It was a proud moment, but it was, like I said, terrifying and very eye-opening. And it's hard to believe that was almost a year and a half ago. And that was the last time I saw anyone.
Yeah.
You know, so
that was one of my favorite moments from any.
Hey, John, I didn't know you were here.
Well,
yeah,
we still have
that
to
was one of my
finish the
favorite
introductions.
So when
Jonathan,
I
go ahead.
while we're talking about Toronto, while we're on that topic, I have to go with this. Is when I talk about it's been so long since I've seen people. John was literally the last person I saw. It was Andrew and John and Eric Lee and I that were still up, and Matt Bennett were still up. Was it 5 in the morning or something? I jumped in an Uber and we went back to the apartment and literally just threw everything together so quickly, and then jumped on the train and went to the airport, went home. But so yeah, John was literally one of the last people I saw. What a fun night.
It was
Miss you, buddy.
Amazing conversations too.
Conversations and
actually remember them?
Well, yeah, it was
most of them. Some of them,
most of them,
maybe bits and pieces.
But you know, I had to look at pictures later. There was that game that they were playing with the beer case. Remember that one? They had to contort bodies in order to pick it up.
Yes. Yeah, picking up the beer bottles or something. Yeah.
That was yeah. So and it was at George Wall's place, which is an interesting apartment in its own right. It's George Wall. I mean, the guy's a legend. This is the guy that used to hang out with the Blues Brothers.
Oh, wow.
Wow. I
Sorry.
didn't realize that.
Yeah, he hung out with Belushi and Aykroyd. A few weeks ago, George popped in to the after show, which he rarely does. It was on the Father's Day weekend, and he popped in for about 10 minutes and had a conversation. He told the story about Aykroyd and Belushi and how he used to hang out with them and this is common knowledge. I'm not letting anything out here. He owned and ran a strip joint, and those guys hung out all the time. So George owned a strip joint and an accounting firm. So you can diversify, right?
There you go.
I don't think he had his firm at that point, but yeah, that's George Wall lore.
Maybe that's where
been
the
an entre-
accountants came in on social media. There's this joke online where I'm an accountant, and it's like people that aren't actually an accountant, but they say they are because it's their like cover.
Yeah,
I guess when he went to strip you of your assets, you knew he was serious.
there you go. Or when he sent you the bill, you knew you were getting screwed, right? So
Or peeled.
sorry.
Well, we
Okay,
got-
this is starting.
Okay.
This is Friday night talk now. Sorry about that. And just so people know, we
daytime.
do fire off the
Sorry.
occasional bad word on Friday Night Live. That's okay. Under Michael Lee, it wasn't always acceptable. He's a little more conservative than the rest of us, but that's all right. So
Yep.
cover your
Okay.
ears if you don't like that.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Lawrence has been known to get a little heated too.
It's
so.
in good
Anyway, okay.
taste.
It's
Yeah, ask him about
you know
his,
what? If you don't like, don't listen. All right.
Well, you know,
Jonathan.
it's a fact that people who swear and use it effectively are more trusted than people that don't. Like,
right.
there's a study on that, and people can fire off the occasional F-bomb and get away with it. It's when you use them all the time that you sound really low class, right? But if you fire the occasional one off, people love it, apparently. So
Apparently.
I guess that's what we do.
All right. Okay. Sorry. Okay, Jonathan, introduce yourself, and have you ever seen FNL?
All right, Jonathan Carter, CATA Accounting Solutions. I have not seen FNL since this time
What?
slot changed, but I did used to tune in, never for an entire show, but usually for half an hour, 40 minutes when you're at the 11 p.m. Eastern slot.
Okay,
I
well, you
feel
can watch
sensitive.
them the next day now.
Days to talk about. There you go. Well, John, you're on my list too. I
Uh-oh.
mentioned earlier that we wanted to get Jessica on. Yeah, so you're gonna have no choice but to watch it because you're gonna be the star attraction.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna make sure
Anytime.
Andrew makes it. I'm gonna make sure that Andrew takes advantage of that. He go just so
Oh,
people
yeah.
know, and Jessica, I guess I should warn you. Andrew will creep his guests and figure out things they didn't even know about themselves sometimes. He's actually brought up things about guests. They're like, how did you find that? How do you know that I worked there 15 years ago?
I
It's
have
just out there on
noticed that.
Google.
That does answer my
Yeah.
question. That yes, I do listen usually while I'm doing other stuff, and I hear the shock.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. But it's always in good taste. But every once in a while you see the looks on the guests, and it's like, Andrew, don't push this one too far. I don't think it's a good memory for them. So he knows, he reads the room very well when he does that.
Gosh, okay, Lawrence, you're up next. Can't finish until we get everybody in here.
Hi, Lawrence Fox, Accounting Wizard Solutions, here in the stormiest basement in all of Thornhill, Ontario. It's been cold, wet, and rainy the past 2 days. What else can I say? The CPA that loves to do books.
And I've told you, Lawrence, Thornhill is where I grew. I didn't grow up, but I spent grade 3, 4, 5, and 6 in my youth in Thornhill.
It's a good place to
I
be.
love that place. I had a lot of good memories. It was good.
Awesome. Okay.
And I have nothing that I give away.
Sorry?
Well, and the closest I come to do anything was my Calendly Jumpstart program, but I get paid for that, but not from Calendly.
All right. Okay.
Who's
We
paying?
have
Yeah.
Clients.
the clients to take this course?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. We have next. We'll go Christine.
Hi, Christine Campbell. This has been an interesting conversation. I think I came across FNL once, but it's in a time slot that Friday nights are. I'm already on a patio with a beer in the summer, of course, or a cocktail or something like that. It's not at a great time frame for me, but I'm gonna have to maybe look it up at another time. Yeah, and just look at some recording ones. Very interesting.
Awesome.
Usually Brad has a drink, or there's always usually someone with a drink in hand during the
Oh,
show.
I forgot to answer. I've never heard an episode of FNL, either the old or the new.
Oh, okay. It's
Yeah.
it's interesting. I like to go live when I can, but like I say,
I know, Carol, it's shocking. I saw that.
and
I
of
don't know
course,
about
if Brad
any-
jumped off.
Yeah.
I guess he
I don't
didn't
know
want. I
about
guess he
any
was
of you,
excited,
but-
so excited by Thornhill, he's heading this way.
There we
Yeah.
go. There we go.
Hey, Lawrence.
I'm very done with bookkeeping come the end of the week. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's
Probably
that's
watching something else by then.
I generally am watching on Saturdays. I'll just sit there and play it on Saturday if I'm working. If not, I'll just throw it on during the week.
Yeah.
All right, and we have Jessica up next.
Hi, Jessica Fox, Vandora Fox on Facebook from Florida Virtual Bookkeeper. And I do listen to FNL a lot. I used to be very sporadic back in the old time slot, and sometimes I would just glaze over like, okay, this content's too heavy for it being so late. I am tired. But with the new format and it being an hour earlier, I find that I look forward to it. And they've taken a couple of weeks off lately, and I've actually missed it, because I like that the conversation is more informal. Sometimes, they're just, especially during the pandemic and the lockdowns, they were just reminiscing about conferences and how much they miss conferences. And even though I don't get to go to conferences, I was missing conferences too, just listening to them.
Yep.
So for some reason, I actually find myself looking forward to it, because anything that did not get done during the week, when they're live, I just put it in one monitor, minimize it. So I'm not even watching, I'm just listening. And I just get stuff done. I don't know why I am so productive when I listen to it, but it has to be live. If I don't catch it live, say I am traveling or I was tired or got really absorbed into my book, the replay does not have the same effect.
Yes.
Yeah, I find the time slot challenging. It being late at night, and Friday is like, every couple should have a date night. That's our date night. So quite often that, we're out or we're watching a movie or something. It's
Oh, I
challenging at
totally
times.
understand. The interesting thing is that my husband normally goes to bed early. So by the time it comes on, everybody's sleeping. So it's my time. And then sometimes my husband will stay up and he'll want to hang out or talk or do something. And I'm like, but Friday Night Live with Accountants is coming on. And he's talking to me, and sometimes I will put it on my phone and I just have like one headset on and I'm like, I'm still listening, but I'm listening to this too.
Jonathan's the newlywed. He's not allowed to do that yet.
Gotcha. Yeah, 12 years later, he knows that, hey, if he's staying up late and messing with my schedule, he's going to have to adapt. But it is interesting. Yeah, I am all in favor in date nights. It's been years since I've had one, ever since my in-laws moved out of state. I don't know what a date night is anymore because the kids come along. So it's just a family outing.
Yeah, totally. Oh, sorry, Lawrence, you're muted. We didn't
You
hear
have to say, I'm having my date with the other guys. Like I say to my wife, I'm having my date with my ladies this afternoon.
And what happens at boot camp, or not boot camp, Beyond the Cloud stays at Beyond the Cloud?
Well, until we go
Absolutely.
live on here. Once we go live on here, it's out there.
Carol,
Public
We're live
knowledge.
right now, so
Even
it's
though
off into the
for
ether.
Lawrence to his wife.
Carol,
Oh, right.
abso-fucking-lutely.
And we have Brad back. Are you there, Brad? Nope, he's still not there. Okay.
Is
Because
there-
everybody got to introduce themselves with Brad, but I think everybody knows Brad. If not, I think they would have figured out who he was.
I don't know if you guys know, but WagePoint has a conference coming up in October.
Yes.
called Wage Fest, and it's going to be super cool and conference. What's what I'm looking for? Concert themed. It's going to be so fun. So anyway, virtual again.
Very cool. Where is this? What is it about?
Yeah,
It's going to be, it's 2 days. Details are still being worked out, but it's going to be a 2-day conference. First day is going to be like small business related, thought leadership related, industry, just very entrepreneurial and industry specific, not payroll specific, but like accounting, finance, all that fun stuff. And then day 2 is going to be product specific, and we'll do actual sessions on product and a few other things. So yeah, I'm super excited. We are already locked in our keynote, and we're getting sessions organized, and I might be reaching out to some of you, but yeah, anyways, I'm super excited. October 6th, it's going to be called Wage Fest, and it's the first of many.
Awesome. And let's take this moment too to say that for anybody who is watching in Canada, most especially Bianca and I will give her the details. We're working on something, so you can share those details out.
Yeah, no, me and Tanya are going to be having a little chit chat at the end of July. We're going to kind of do a recorded Q&A on all things CRHP, and that's the Canadian Recovery Hiring Program. Is that what it's called? Canadian Recovery Hiring Program. Yes.
When is
that? That's the new subsidy that's going to be, I think, replacing CEWS. That's my.
Eventually, yeah. So I was on a government call last week. I sat down and worked a couple hours last night. It is not as complex as I actually thought it was going to be. So I really ignored it until Wednesday and Thursday, and I really got heads down. We're actually doing, for the boot camp members, we're doing a boot camp Q&A on Monday. So I'm going to be able to, again, start compiling more questions and whatnot as well. But no, so it's weeks or period 17, 18, 19, and 20. You can do either or, and you don't have to just pick one and stick with it. So you can do one period, the CHRP or CRHP, the next CEWS, whatever is beneficial. And then after period 20, the CEWS is no more, and it will only be the Recovery Hiring Program, I think, for 4 more periods. I've got all my notes. I've been collecting stuff in here, so I could be wrong in the number of periods after that is going. I think they said 4, but it's in my notes.
Anyways, we're going to
I only have one question. Do you have to get up early for CHIRP?
No.
We're going to record a whole Q&A. We're going to go over all the scenarios that everyone could, encounter. We're going to talk about all the nitty gritty about it, and we're going to record the session and then put it out to everybody all over social media and communities. And it's going to be great. And so if you have specific questions that you want answered or you don't know, send Tanya or I a message, and we will make sure that we address it in that recording.
Yeah, and if it's time sensitive and you have somebody you need to deal with before then, I'll reach out to you directly, but we'll still get it in the recording. Just let me know, reach out to me directly on that, but we'll still get it in there and make sure that's discussed. And Brad, welcome back.
I was
did our
plugged
introduction, so you can introduce yourself to the world now.
Well, but my laptop, I thought it was plugged in. It's an outdoor plug-in with one of those little circuit breaker things. And apparently it wasn't charging, and it just gave me no warning, and kablam, I was out of battery.
Oh,
so
geez.
That's what happened. Introduction. Where do I begin? Brad Celmanis. My business is Brad Celmanis Accounting Solutions. Unlike most of you out there, I was a CPA, but I don't actually practice as a CPA anymore. I during the pandemic, I dropped my letters. This is going to sound really weird, but I was getting the wrong type of client by being a CPA. Everyone wanted the traditional stuff. They wanted tax, they wanted year ends. And I got so many requests for that sort of information. I referred on, never did find a really good referral arrangement. So I was doing the business development for every other accounting firm out there. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to drop it. So I did that during the pandemic. My focus has always been on the operational side of things, the software, the setup, the training, the subject matter expert in that area. And that's really where I played my entire career before I went out on my own as a CFO, as a controller, not just doing accounting, but IT, payroll, HR, things like that. So that's kind of why I branched out the way I did. Pros and cons. Pros are that it's fun. It's what I like to do. Cons are, it's not recession proof like you guys all experienced where you were so busy. My business kind of fell off the cliff a bit, which is, like I say, I've got a bit of a gossip going on out there, but I'm about to change it up a bit. You'll all hear about it in the next little while. It's going to be significantly different in many ways, but my business will continue on, but I'm going to be doing some other things. I'm staying in the industry. That's all I'm going to say.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So I wonder if we could then go off of here, go on, not live, and see if those of us who stay around be like an FNL and get those secrets.
I'd have to send you a non-disclosure agreement, but that could be arranged.
All right. All right.
Or else I just have to trust you.
Does that have to do with your travels and your conference plans that you mentioned earlier?
We'd have to talk about that offline.
No comment.
No comment. No
Very
comment.
cool.
But I will tell a bit more with just the understanding that this is early stage. Yeah, there's only so much I can give away, but yeah, I'd rather not share things publicly yet, but there are people out there that know I'm up to something. So,
well, you know what? Actually, that's okay. This is a great time to say that officially we are at the end.
There you go. So if you want to hear the big gossip, you have to stick around.
Exactly.
This is just like the after show at FNL. This is what we do at FNL.
Exactly.
Except you'll have to turn the recording off.
Absolutely. I don't actually record.
There you go. Andrew always does. Well, I guess
you know, the reason being is I've got my daughter. Actually, she has an intro and an outro. By the way, Jonathan, I'd love to know how you like the intro and the outro on our Enhancing the Accountant Bookkeeper Connection series. So my daughter has an intro and an outro that she puts onto it. But if I take the recording from Zoom, it actually shows the big face of the person speaking. It doesn't show us like in the Brady Bunch theme and the boxes. If I take the recording and I download it from Facebook, then we see everybody's faces. So that's,
I never the Hollywood Squares version.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. So we will cut off, and anybody who wants to hang around, I'm not going to cut us off. I'm just going to stop the Facebook live stream.
Yeah, but I've got everyone that wants to stick around now to go, what the hell's Brad talking about?
But that's right? Okay. That's up to you if you want to tell us.
Maybe I'll have a power failure again. Oops, what's this?
How am I supposed to get my work done, Brad? Now I have to stay.
It won't take it. No.
Okay.
Anyways.
Well, let's close off. So thank you very much.
Great to see everyone
who joined. Great to see everybody. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you all soon. And don't go
come
away
to see FNL tonight with the boys from the Cloud Accounting Podcast.
Yes,
David
absolutely.
Leary, Blake Oliver. David Leary, we don't know. Possibly he'll be there.
But at least Blake will be there.
Blake for sure. Blake's wonderful. So it's worth the price of admission just for him.
There you go. And the link is in multiple places, but it's so it's in Bookkeepers Corner group. They get into a group, but essentially you can get there directly by going to the FNL Facebook group, correct?
Yes, that's the best way to find us. Definitely get into it because we always put the details in there before we put them anywhere.
Perfect. Absolutely. Yeah. So if you're not already joined up. So Brad, you might get a ton of people joining. I think we've already got a lot of the same.
I think most of you are already in there. So
I think so. All right, everybody have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you later.